Good evening again for Newswatch. I'm Ed Hart. Because of President Nixon's news conference, our Newswatch hour has been split in two tonight. We continue now with the latest developments in the biggest story of the weekend, that free concert given by the Rolling Stones over at Altamont. During the weekend, Newswatch reporter Myra Scott was at the Altamont Speedway. Here is her report.
The British rock group, the Rolling Stones, wanted to give a free concert to say farewell to America after a profitable month-long tour. They wanted to hold it near San Francisco. They held it. It was not altogether all right. It did bring masses of people. The multitudes converged in a cow pasture belonging to the Altamont Speedway in Alameda County, 50 miles from San Francisco. They created a weekend traffic jam for 30 miles. 300,000, perhaps more, young rock fans came. It was probably the largest musical festival in the history of the state. Mass gatherings appear to be the theme of this age, the under-30 generation. They turned out hundreds of thousands strong for the moratoriums. They assembled in droves for Woodstock, the peaceful forerunner of Altamont, billed by some as Woodstock West. Youth pursues individual freedoms, but they do it en masse. There is safety in numbers for getting high on drugs. Numbers add to the adulation of rock sound. These are the chances for the youthful to show they can enjoy good vibes together. Yet a shadow of turmoil seemed to hang over Altamont from the beginning, and it would cast a pall. This was an expectant gathering that jammed the highways and the pastures in the spirit of a song recorded by the Jefferson Airplane on their very first album of San Francisco-style rock back in 1966. A song, Let's Get Together.
Go to her, she waits, she lies, beaming for you. Go to her, she waits, she lies, screaming for you. I never thought I'd see the day when a shadow would move up and say, go to her, she lay, waiting for you. Go to her, she waits, she lies, lonely for you. Go to her, she waits, she lies, only for you. There's something in my bed, so help me Lord, I'm afraid. Go to her, she lay, waiting for you. I can still remember the day when he first won my heart on a hillside where we lay. He said we never would part. So help, how was I to know? My waits, she lies, beaming for you. Go to her, she waits, she lies, screaming for you. Go to her, she waits, she lies, ill for you. Go to her, she lay, dying for you. Go to her, she lay, crying for you. Go to her, go to her.
It was a free concert, but it had wide economic ramifications. The types of promoters and management surrounding modern talent have changed styles, but they still make money. And it was conflict over money that almost prevented the concert from coming off. It forced an 11th hour location change that cost in dollars, tempers, and tension. The move to the Altamont Speedway began on Friday. The concert was originally scheduled for Golden Gate Park, but crowd estimates were too large. Then Sears Point International Raceway came into the picture, but Sears Point is owned by Filmways, a Los Angeles corporation. That started a hassle over who would get movie and recording rights. The raceway said it wanted all profits to go to charity, and it blamed the Stones for welching. The Stones spokesman said Filmways wanted to make a profit on the movie rights, but Sears Point denies this, saying it canceled the concert because of inadequate security and because of doubts about the Stones' charitable intentions. The hassle may end up in court. At any rate, literally overnight, the new site at the small cow pasture adjacent to the Altamont Speedway was converted into an acoustical chamber.
I think that giving roughly 8 hours notice, and after telling the kids they were going to one point, which was some 80 miles from here, making everybody move to the other end of the world, including the equipment. A local radio station picked up the cost of helicopters to fly in the equipment and the staging, and like 500 kids volunteered around the clock, and we were out here at 4:30 in the morning, and we were ready to go at 4:30 in the morning, except for some technical situations and getting down to the wire. I think it was really great, and that the crowd was amazingly, amazingly orderly.
The 7-hour concert extravaganza began at noon, though the hillsides were packed from early morning. There were families, people asleep under blankets, and most brought their own food. They were packed so tightly there was no plodding through them. They had the best in San Francisco-based rock to groove with. Santana was first on the bill, followed by the Jefferson Airplane and Crosby, Stills, and Nash & Young. Although they were scheduled, the Grateful Dead did not play. Thousands in the crowd were high on drugs or wine, or maybe both. There were 4 medical areas, 35 official doctors, and many volunteers. They treated scores and scores of bad trips, and there were rumors someone was handing out bad dope. During the first set of the day, there was a fight. The crowd parted, but it did little to help. The rumor was that the fight involved a Hell's Angel. It was a preview of what was to come. Most enjoyed themselves calmly. Several shed all unnecessary inhibitions to expose themselves to the vibrations. The grounds became chilly as dusk fell. The crowd curled up in bedrolls or around campfires if they had the room. They were waiting for the big time, for the Stones to arrive. During the afternoon, there had been a few injuries. There were long lines at the concession counters, the few that existed, and even longer lines at portable toilets. Some women made sacrifices of even greater discomfort. At least 3 or 4 babies were born during the concert. Dusk also brought the Hell's Angels in a show of strength. If they had intended to leave their mark on the concert, they succeeded. Some who were involved contend that representatives of the Stones and the Grateful Dead had mustered the Angels for security. Finally, at nightfall, the Rolling Stones appeared. The stage had been under siege by fans. It was not to cease. But for now, the show went on. Shortly after 5:30, the Rolling Stones were on stage. The lead singer, Mick Jagger, went through his prancing antics. It was the moment the fans had been awaiting. Were pressing in hordes against the stage. Usually it seems rock groups, and especially the Rolling Stones and Jagger, delight in arousing the crowd, in working them into a frenzy. It might be considered their ego trip. But this was the largest crowd the Stones had encountered on the month-long tour, and the most explosive. The Hells Angels encircling the stage made claim to bodyguarding the singers and controlling the crowd. There were 300 security guards on hand hired by the Speedway and the Stones, the ratio of 1 per 1,000. But the Angels clearly controlled the stage. Their justice was brutal. They administered many beatings. The crowd did little to help. And during one of these struggles, a young black man, whom some said had brandished a gun, was stabbed. Finally, Mick Jagger, later reported to be shook up by the disruptions, appealed for calm.
Brothers and sisters, come on now. That means everybody just pull out. Will you pull out, everybody? Everyone's going to get to the side of the stage who's on it now, apart from the Stones who are playing. Please, everyone. Everyone, please. I don't know what's going on, who's doing what. It's just a scuffle. All I can ask you, San Francisco, is like the whole thing, like this could be the most beautiful evening we've had for this winter. You know, I can't see you up on the hillsides. You're probably very cool. Down here, we're not so cool. We've got a lot of hassles going on. I just, every cat. Yeah, I know you. I mean, you know, we can't even see you, but I know you're cool. We're just trying to keep it together. I can't do any more than just ask you, just beg you, just to keep it together. You can do it. It's within your power. Everyone, Hells Angels, everybody. Let's just keep ourselves together.
The concert continued. It was discovered later that the young man who was stabbed, 18-year-old Meredith Hunter of Berkeley, died. So far, a total of 4 deaths have been attributed to the festival, and another person is still unaccounted for. There were only 3 arrests, with 23 injuries, 2 still very critical. But the concert's promoters thought things went well.
200,000 people, 300,000 people, or 10,000 people. If somebody wants to start something, they're going to start it. Doesn't make any difference.
But you think generally it was a peaceful concert?
Very, very, very peaceful.
The Rolling Stones left immediately. It took most of their fans longer. The general atmosphere was heavy with the overtones of disruption. Many fans were bewildered, many disillusioned. Well-known rock music authority and columnist Ralph Gleason called the festival a bummer in his column, and he said later it was a Roman carnival, a serious thing. It was thrown together too hastily and for money, not for free. Many fans were untouched by the bandstand violence. They went home as best they could and saw another day. Altamont saw another day too, and perhaps more trouble. Massive garbage, refuse left by more than 250,000 people was the major problem the next day. A layer of trash covered the cow pasture that is known as the Altamont Speedway. But many young people voluntarily stayed to help clean up the mess, and that job will probably take at least a week. One youthful group of garbage collectors has a mission. They're out to prove that refuse, one of society's major disposal problems, can be reused. As an environmental experiment, they plan to resell the paper, cans, bottles, and whatnot left at the scene.
Yeah, well, when Santana first came on, you were losing half your base on the bass guitar. You're just getting about 200.
Also, cleaning up and repairing damage from the hectic night before were many ranchers in the area. Fences were down and wires had been cut. But despite the damage, the local ranchers were split in their opinion about the bash.
I think it was very nice. It was a great old happening, and all the kids enjoyed it, and I had fun.
Not much damage to your property?
None. Absolutely. You just let them have wood and make fires, and they had a lot of fun, and we didn't have no damage.
Seems some of your neighbors are upset and are talking about legal action. Do you think that's called for?
No, they're extremists, and they don't like kids. And I really don't agree with them and their attitudes.
Among those who were upset with the damage and the violence was one couple who lived directly across from the Speedway. They had witnessed the death of 2 young people run over by a speeding car leaving the festival. They found the concert totally disruptive.
Just, what can you say? They just generally tore our place up.
A lot of things stolen from you?
Well, we can't really tell yet what all is gone,
Cut offenses, harassed, threatened, but made vulgarities. Went to the bathroom in your front yard. Everything you can think of, you name it, they did it.
Well, what can you say? We hope that we're decent people. And to have these animals come out here, come on.
Some of the irate neighbors have indicated they may file lawsuits against the Speedway's genial owner, Dick Carter. He hopes they will not.
At this moment, I hope we don't have any, and we will have to deal if it comes up. But if I can settle anything in a friendly way, I would like to. I want to be their friend, not their enemy. I hope they understand what I've done and why, and I want to cooperate with them if I can. The reason we did this in the first place, I was told that the group was, in their words, uptight, and 200,000 people were converging on the area, and if something didn't happen someplace, there would be big trouble. So on this basis, I volunteered the property here, providing we could get enough security and health and sanitation to handle it. And I'm very sorry we couldn't contact the people to provide for these things in a better way than we did, but we did the best under the circumstances. And I did it to avoid trouble, not to start trouble.
The Hells Angels seem to sort of be an appointed group up on stage. I don't know whether they were self-appointed or what. Can you tell me anything about their role at the concert?
Well, I didn't appoint them in any way. We had our own security people. However, although I don't condone Hell's Angels, and I can say one thing, I think a great deal of more of them today than I did the day before yesterday. I'd heard many, many bad things about the Angels. I'd never been involved with them in any way, and I know they helped us out of some very, very tight spots yesterday. I don't think that the Rolling Stones could have gotten to the stage without their help, and at the bad incident, although they were involved in this also, they prevented the riot at the time. We thought they were starting a riot when it happened, and actually they were preventing one. They kept the people from jumping up to the stage.
But to most people, including a young couple who attended the rock concert, the Hells Angels were brutal. Understandably, that couple declined to be identified.
I was watching Santana play, and all of a sudden there was a big fight because somebody took a picture of a Hells Angel, and the Hells Angel didn't like it. So the Hells Angel, instead of, taking the camera away or whatever, I don't know what caused the fight, but the Hells Angels came after this guy with pull cues and just beat the hell out of the guy with the pull cue until a pull cue broke.
Smashed him.
Until a pull cue broke in splinters, and then they, with the splintered pull cue, started jabbing this guy in the face with it.
It was really bad.
The disturbances that marred the event were serious, but let us also consider the perspective along with our conclusions. Remember that the overwhelming majority came and went in peace. Taking a random comparison, in Omaha, Nebraska last Saturday night, a city of about 300,000, there were 17 deaths, 34 births, 2 or 3 assaults, and they have a homicide about every 2 weeks. But a city differs from a rock festival of the same size. The latter is an artificially created social climate. People squeeze together, tension from the piercing sound. a purposeful intention to create excitement by the promoters and by the performers. They do it for the adulation and the profit. And on top of that, there's the unmeasured impact of drugs. Now of the deaths. One young man was killed when he jumped into a canal. 2 more young people were killed when a car drove over them while they were asleep in their sleeping bags. Classify these as accidents, if you will. Accidents happen anywhere. But the focal point of the day was the stage, and it was at that focal point that an 18-year-old youth was murdered, stabbed to death within the shadow of the stage while the Rolling Stones were performing. In judging who may be responsible, let us look at the attitudes. Friday afternoon, the Stones road manager, Sam Cutler, told me that little security was necessary. He considered the suggestion that much security was needed a stereotyped view. But 18-year-old Meredith Hunter died at that bandstand Saturday night, in front of a massive gathering of those who most vocally deplore violence in our society. And there violence was. The gist of it is that San Francisco rock is no longer an underground thing. It has matured, and with that maturity comes responsibility. Columnist Ralph Gleason blames the death directly on some of the Rolling Stones people and on some of the others connected with the concert. He was upset by the outcome, and Gleason predicts there will not be such another rock festival. I'm Myra Scott. Ed?
Thank you, Myra. It is quite apparent we have not heard the last of this particular weekend concert. One Alameda County cattle rancher says the crowd caused $15,000 worth of damage to his 640-acre spread. Mrs. Joseph Ness says that she and 14 other property owners in the Altamont area have formed a committee. She said they plan to go to the County Board of Supervisors protesting the fact the concert had been allowed in the first place. On the other side of this figurative fence, Dick Carter, who is the owner of Altamont Speedway, you heard him, said he's received hundreds of messages thanking him for the festival. He's had offers, he said, from organizations that want him to promote similar concerts at Altamont for them. One backer offered Carter $25 million to promote rock festivals internationally. So far, Carter thinks that he may put on another one next spring. Incidentally, the film footage you saw shot over the weekend was done by Al Topping and also Chuck Hastings. Myra Scott was a Newswatch producer-reporter on that story. The editing chores were handled by Louise Spear, Bob Schaefer, and Alex Zanini. That's it for Newswatch. Our full-hour newscast will be seen at its regular time tomorrow night between 5:30 and 6:30, followed by the Huntley-Brinkley Report. For Newswatch, I'm Ed Hart. Good night.